Good morning. We are reading the story, NIV, and we stopped at chapter 4. We're picking up on page 44. Joseph had passed away, and his brothers, and the new Pharaoh did not remember Joseph and what Joseph had done, and he had made the Israelites slaves. And what happened, the more that the Pharaoh and the Egyptians oppressed and pressed down on the Israelites, the more they what?
Grew.
That's right. The more they multiplied.
And had more children.
That's right. So, now, we're on page 44 at the top. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people. Every Hebrew boy that is born to you, you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. Now a man of the tribe of Levi. Why do you think he was saying the boys?
Because they're stronger.
They are stronger. That's a good point.
Because the boys are basically, they consider the men since the men, they're able to deal a lot of things because they sort of have stronger muscles than women. No offense to women, not that women aren't strong, but men have some advantages that women don't, and women have some advantages that men don't.
If they get rid of the men, they're getting rid of what they consider the seed of the Hebrews, as they were calling them. If they have just the women, then they can Egyptian men can marry Egyptian women. Egyptian men could then marry the Hebrew women, and the Egyptian seed would then be in the Hebrew woman.
I never thought of it that way.
So then they're kind of like eradicating the Hebrews. They're trying to get rid of them by just getting rid of the boys. They're getting rid of the people who would be the strongest, who would grow up to be the strongest, but also they're getting rid of the seed of the Hebrews. So now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, most mothers think that their children is a fine child. I look at my baby and I say, this is a fine child. And the next one, this is a fine child. They're all my fine child. She hid him for 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. What's the tar and pitch for?
To keep it from make it waterproof.
To make it waterproof. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the along the bank of the Nile. His sister Miriam stood at a distance to see what would happen. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe. Just so happened. Did it just so happen? She was like, oh, I think I need a bath right now.
It was funny. She would be like, I feel like that today I'm going to save a child. I also need a bath right now, at this very moment that we speak.
Well, she didn't think she was going to go save a child. She went to go bathe in the Nile, and then her attendants went with her, walking along the riverbank. But yes, it is God ordained that she just happened to be bathing at this time. And she saw the basket, and she sent her female slave to get it. See, there's slaves right there. I wonder because the Israelites were slaves. I wonder if she sent an Israelite. She opened it and saw the baby, and he was crying, and she felt sorry for him. And she said, this is one of the Hebrew babies. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter. So Miriam pops out. She's like, oh, shall I go get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said, yes, go. So Miriam went and got the baby's mother, which
she got paid to be a mother.
Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you. And so the woman, meaning Moses' mom, took Moses and nursed him. And when the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. I think it's interesting that she named him. I wonder when she named him, because it says she named him Moses.
I wonder what his original name was going to be.
Yeah.
Maybe something like Must.
I don't know, but I wonder if she named him when he was weaned, because you're not weaned. We saw that baby yesterday drinking milk from her mother's breast, and she was probably almost 2. So they don't wean them, especially during this time when you just can't go to the store and go get milk. They don't wean them. I don't think they're like 3 or 4. Let's see. One day, after Moses had grown up. No, so what, I was wondering if she did it after or before. Did she name him before? Like, this is going to be my child Moses. Can you take care of him? Or did she wait till he was weaned to name him Moses? Because 3 years old is a long time to go without a name. Or did he have a different name before then? Just thoughts. One day after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian hitting a Hebrew, one of his own people. So he knew who his people were, which means what? When his mother was raising him for those 3 years that she was nursing him,
She told him.
she was telling him, these are your people. We are your people. Because he already knew. Looking this way and that, he saw no one. He was like, oh, I don't see anyone. So I don't like to say that word, but he defeated the Egyptian. He was hateful. He sent him to meet with the Lord. And he hid him in the sand. Then he tried to hide what he did. The next day he went out and saw 2 Hebrews fighting, and he asked the one in the wrong, why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew? And the man said, who made you ruler and judge over us? Cruz, watch that. Yeah, stay away from that. He said, who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian? Then Moses was afraid and thought, what I did must have become known. And when Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to defeat Moses. But Moses fled away from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian, where he sat down by a well. So Pharaoh, who he grew up under, he now is running from because he had killed somebody. I don't like to say that word. Now a priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water out of the well and to fill the troughs with water for their father's flock. Some shepherds came along and drove them away, but Moses got up and came to their rescue. So you can see that he has a heart for injustice. Can you see that? Even though he got out of control, he has a heart for it. He has a heart to make wrong things right.
So he'll go to the point of death to do it. Death.
Well, yeah, I don't want to make fun. When the girls returned to Reuel, whenever you see that L, that usually means God is in the name. He asked them, why have you returned so early? And they answered, an Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock. So they're not calling him a Hebrew, they're calling him an Egyptian. And where is he? Reuel asked his daughters. Why did you leave him? Invite him to have something to eat. And Moses agreed to stay with the man. And the man gave him his daughter Zipporah in marriage. And Zipporah gave birth to a son. And Moses named him Gershom, saying, I have become a foreigner in a foreign land. So we see that Moses has been exiled, basically, out of everything he knew. Because he knew he was a Hebrew, but he grew up in a foreign palace. But then, after he grew up, he wanted to defend his people, but he had to flee because his heart for injustice, he acted rashly and he let his anger overwhelm him. He had a heart for injustice, but he let his anger overwhelm him. He let his anger tell him what to do. Do we do that?
No.
What do we do if we get angry? Or we're overwhelmed with an emotion that it doesn't seem like we can control.
We breathe it out. We talk to the Lord about it.
We watch it. You just acknowledge it. I'm having a feeling of anger, and just watch it. Ask the Lord what to do. If it's overwhelming, yes, breathe it out. Hand it over to the Lord and wait and see what the Lord says to do. Because if we allow ourselves to be overwhelmed, then who's ruling us? The anger is ruling us, and we're not ruling it. The Lord says, be angry, but don't
sin.
Yes. Moses was angry, and then what did he do?
Sinned.
He sinned. Okay, so we're going to stop there because he's kind of far and away, and he spends, do you remember how long he spends out here?
40 years.
40 years. He was 40 when he left. He spends 40 more years out in the wilderness.
He was 40 when he left?
He was 40 when he left.
So he was about 80.
He was about 80 years old when the Lord called him to lead. Most people say your life is over by 80, but Lord said, nope, got a whole new thing for you to do. But we'll read more about that tomorrow. Okay, I forgot to mark what page we were on. All right, we only made it to page 45. So we will do more, I'm not sure tomorrow, but a day coming up soon. Bye.